Let's go ahead and summarize everything that you've learned. I want to cover all the important topics so that you remember everything for the future. So in the very first section of this course, we basically got introduced to all the tools that we're going to be using. We used Visual Studio on a Windows computer to write all the code. And remember that even though I used Visual Studio to write all the code, the concepts that Applitools has and the stuff like baselines and dashboards and test managers, all of that stuff applies to all the different programming languages and all the different tools, and they have many different kinds of integrations. So C# was what we used here, but you can use it with any other programming language and tool. You also learned the importance of visual bugs and why they are so common. It's simply because there's such a giant test matrix that you have to cover, right? All the different operating systems, browser sizes, all the different operating system versions, just simply running in different resolutions, right? One resolution versus another. You saw that there could be bugs. There could be bugs on one iPad device and not on an iPhone, and vice versa. Even you saw that with my Ultimate QA website, where the same exact browser but in a different resolution caused different kinds of bugs. And so because of that, visual bugs are so common and they happen, and visual validation is a must. And then Applitools makes visual validation extremely easy for us because they allow us to use a single method to visually validate an entire page. In the next section, you learned a bunch of different topics related to the baselines and the test dashboard. You learned that the baseline is the expected screenshot of something. It could be a page, it could be an element, it could be a section of a page. In the tutorial, I mainly just showed you pages, so those were the baselines, but you could also have baselines for elements of sections. You can have baselines for collection of elements if you want. That is all a baseline. And then once a baseline gets set, automatically after your first test execution, that baseline will be used from that point forward against all your future visual validations, until at which point you decide to change the baseline, right? And you might want to change the baseline because there was a new feature introduced, and so that changed the look of the baseline. And so now you want to update a baseline, as you saw with all of our tutorials, where in Ultimate QA, whenever we found some bug and we fixed the bug, then we went and set a new baseline. In the third section of the course, we focused on match levels and regions, and we did a lot of very cool coding here. You learned that strict match level is a smart algorithm that is designed by Applitools to detect any change that is visible to the human eye. What that means is it's not going to detect a single pixel shift or maybe even a 2-pixel shift. If it's not visible to the human eye, the strict algorithm will not detect it. And it is the most common algorithm to use when doing automated visual validation. You also learned about the content match level, which works similar to strict, but just ignores colors. And then you also learned about the layout match level, which has been very useful for us in our course because it compares the alignment and relative position of all the elements of the page. If you remember, we used the layout match level on our social sharing toolbar, because the social sharing toolbar actually had those numbers that increase as the page gets shared more often. And so that would break it if it was a strict match level. But we don't care that the numbers keep increasing. In fact, that's awesome. And I hope that after this tutorial, the numbers increase by a lot. Hint, hint. Just kidding. But so that's why it was very useful. The layout match level was also useful for us for our content area where we were displaying the posts, because the posts have dynamic titles and the posts get updated on a regular basis, especially because I post every couple days. Then those posts can change, and so a strict match level is too hard for that section, and it's okay for the posts to change, and so we applied a layout match level there. And then finally, in the last section of the course, we talked about the test manager. The test manager is the area that you see that contains all of the batches and all of the tests inside of your batches. We were able to learn how to use the test manager to search and filter your tests or batches, right? You can use the search icon to filter based on batch name. You can filter based on batch status, and you can do the same thing for your tests. You can also even star your tests. You can do group bys where you can group your tests in different sections based on how you want to see them. You also learned that CSS stitching is useful for floating elements that appear everywhere on the page. With Ultimate QA website, you saw the headers and the social sharing bar. That was where CSS stitching helped us for that to not appear on every single page whenever we were doing our full page screenshots. You also learned the eyes.check method that allows us to check the entire page. And we were able to control the eyes.check method with a Fluent API where we were able to continuously add more properties to our check. So for example, we could apply a layout region to an element. We could apply a strict region to another element. We could apply a layout region to a section of the page. And we can apply a strict match level algorithm to the entire page, all in a single method that is just extended by more Fluent API calls. So now you are an expert, and all that is left is for you to go and visually validate everything. My name is Nikolai. I am the CEO of UltimateQA.com. I truly hope that you enjoyed this course. Please leave any feedback related to this course. And as always, I'll see you next time in a future tutorial. Take care.